Peter Kochel, you come say a few words. As my mom mentioned, this is the father of one of my two childhood best friends, and a part of my life for a long time.
I'm taking these out because hopefully I'll make it through talking about Steve and our time together without needing those. I think Adrian talked about this kind of fate or coincidence of three boys born around the same time, ending up at the same daycare together, and these connections that got made. And my memories of those early days, I don't have the sequence or the timeline all laid out, but I remember these three boys who were in some combination pretty inseparable for some number of years. And then there was this guy, David Pudlin, who approached me, Sam's, one of these boys' dads, and all of a sudden I'm running for the school board with Pete Rosa and Steve. And, I'm totally new to this. I think Steve was new to it. We shared politics and values. And then I'm in this meeting in this restaurant with David and Ethan Rome, who was a political activist in Connecticut for many years, probably still is, wherever he is now. And we came up, one of them came up with the notion of calling the slate New Britain's Best for Board of Education, very modestly named. Got schooled and taught how to do this stuff, and got folded into this incredible community of people, political people, people who cared about other people, and we won our election, and we served together, and we tried to be a voice for all kids in town, and bring justice and fairness and equity. And Steve and Pete were leaders and strong voices in that. I was looking through my Facebook today, and John McNamara had written something about Steve today, which I think was really on target, and such a strong voice and such a strong leader for those educational issues at that time. And he also referenced a primary that I won't go all through the gory details of, but I see Mike Trueworthy here, and I remember sitting at Harriet's real estate office, every night for I don't know how many nights, making phone calls. And Pete had decided not to run, and we had Juan Verdu join the New Britain's Best slate at that time. And I think he won that election by like 16 or 19 votes. And I remember that primary night not really like feeling great personally, other than I was included and could do my part for this great community that we have. And that continues. Both Steve and I, though we talk about politics all the time and did, we kind of step back a little bit, but we have great people in this town, and who are of all segments of the community trying to bring their best to making this a better community. That's a really long lead up, and as I was thinking about this morning, that was the first 8 years of about 25 years that I knew Steve. And much of the rest of the time was spent walking around here, walking around this park. And occasionally we wanted to get fancy, we'd go to West Harper Reservoir. Adrian was always urging more hills. Or we'd go tromping through the woods. but we did a lot of miles in this park, and we talked about a lot of things, about Nancy and her acting career and his friendships and how the brisket was at Passover this year, and you know, all these stories and all this time. And we talk about Matthew's latest play and how his performance was, and why did it take so long to get to New Milford, Connecticut? Like, it's a small state. But to be honest, I think Steve and Adrian would have walked to New Milford if they had to see and support Matthew. You know, I profoundly miss Steve. He was a steadfast fixture in my life. And, you know, time ebbs and flows and life changes for good and bad, and he was there for me for all of that. And I hope I was there for him when he needed me as well. My one little last comment is, way back in those school board days, in the olden days, there were actually 2 reporters that would cover every Board of Education, two Board of Educations a month, meetings a month, and there was a Herald reporter and a Current reporter. I mean, whoever thought that would have happened? And I think it was, I don't want to talk ill of the Herald, but I think it was the Herald reporter more than once would confuse us. You know, they'd talk about, and then Peter Horowitz said, or Stephen Kochel said, which I hold as an honor. So to think that I could be, and I know I carry part of Steve with me, and will forever.